Hi, fellow traders. Well, we made it through another week. This wasn't the week I envisioned when this week started, but I'm still here. I'm still green, and I'm ready to enjoy some time with family this weekend and get ready to tackle this market again on Monday. So, that's what it's all about. So I want to share something with you real quick, and then we'll talk about the last 2 days. I didn't get to do a recap video yesterday. I was just out of sorts yesterday, as you'll see. But what I want to, the message I want to share with you today is focus on the solution. All too often, the first thing we do when something bad happens or something doesn't go right, and we focus on all of the negatives. Failure and adversity really are only in our lives to help us, not hurt us. So it's very, very important that we continue to understand that in this industry, there are going to be challenges. Things are going to hit us every day. It doesn't matter how long you've been trading. It's going to hit you. So to turn failure and these adversities into a gift and grow through the tough times instead of just casually going through them, you've got to start focusing on the solutions. Many people let their mind wander toward the negative, which prompts them to focus more on the problems instead of searching for the ways to resolve the situation and grow from it. And I know E.T. said it best. He said, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And if your focus is on negative and all of the bad stuff, that's where your energy is going to flow. And we're able to get through these huge setbacks and drawdowns and everything because we're able to focus on the solutions. The successful people are able to focus on the solution, not the problems. And everybody knows who Thomas Edison is, but I don't know how many times he failed, but his persistence in continually searching for solutions after facing one failure after another, that's a prime example of just focusing on solutions and not worrying about what's going on. Your failure is never a final end result, unless you made it so. And Edison said, every experience he had, every challenge, he used that to get a step closer to where he was trying to get to all along. And that's the kind of mindset that we've got to have, especially in trading. That every stumbling block we run into is just more experience and one step closer to get to where you want to go to, all along. So let's just focus on the solutions. I mean, that even comes from the engineering focus. I had teachers tell me, don't, because as an engineer, you're designing things to solve a problem. We'd always have a problem, and we would have to design something that solved a problem. And they would always say, look, don't focus too much on the problem. Focus more on the solution. And that's really what we have to do here in trading. And we're going to, this is just another thing that I'm going to incorporate into the Roadmap to Success series that we're doing now. Like I said, you're going to have twice as many sessions as what we did last year. And we're really going to deal with and focus on a lot of the problems that you had. The main one, and the main issue, and I'm planning on talking about this in a Rolling with Ed this weekend, but it's the educated traders. What's the difference? And here's a question, and I'll let you think about it. I'm going to answer it later on this weekend. Is that what's the difference in the failure rate between educated traders and uneducated traders? Now that's a question that I'm going to ask, and I'm going to elaborate on that on this weekend. So stay tuned for that. So let's look at this is yesterday, and man, I can't tell you. I really can't. I really can't tell you what went on in my mind yesterday. You can see I bought, and here on the break, it's 5-minute opening range. Well, no, it wasn't. This was the pullback, and that I caught. It wasn't the opening range breakout. It was a pullback, and we were breaking through the high. I got in, and took half off up here, and then accidentally added. I don't even know how I did this. I'm thinking I was trying to put in my stop or whatever, but I accidentally added. And normally I'm short biased, and I can see myself looking to do a buy order to cover that I normally do when I'm short. So I can see myself making that mistake. But I did that, ended up and just bailing out. I was really messed up, and you could see the reason why I had to stop out was because when I added, it messed up my average. And so once it came back to break even, I had to stop out. Well, actually, this was my stop out right here. So it came back. I took profit up here. This was where I had to do a quick draw. And I was just discombobulated. The whole trade, after I made that mistake, I was just discombobulated. Normally, I'm cool, calm, and collected. I can, figure this thing out. But I just wasn't there yesterday. And this was the first example of it. Now I did make money on it, but look at the move I could have made. That's the thing. Look at the move that I honestly could have gotten out of this thing. But that was on RCL, and then the wheels started falling. The wheels fell off. BA was the next trade. I took 2 trades on this. I bought here on the break. This wasn't really a full pullback or not even a full flag. I mean, and I probably should have thought twice about getting in, but I bought this on the break. It didn't work, sold off. It opened down here, and we started pushing up. And no, I'm sorry. I shorted this because I thought we were rolling over. I shorted this and ended up having to buy. I don't even know what happened. It wasn't. I just don't know. And so I just had to stop because I couldn't figure out what was going on. It was like I was watching somebody else just make a mockery of what they were doing. So yesterday was just really, really, out of limits. So when I stopped yesterday, I just didn't even think about trading anymore. But fortunately, I only lost $233.15. So small red day yesterday. It just, I don't know. I mean, I really, really don't know. But you can see eventually this thing broke down, but this is not something that I would trade in. I would not trade through all of this. It would have to wait until we got out of this. And I waited and waited and waited, and we traded in a channel all day. And there are no trades until you break out of a channel. And I want you guys to remember this, because we're going to refer to this in your memory when we get to the BA trade today. All right, so today, first trade was KMX. Got short on a 5-minute opening range breakdown. Started to work a little bit as usual. Turned back against me. This closed above the opening range low. And then this candle opened and traded above it. That's the technical signal for me to get out of the trade. And that's why I took it off. Now, later on, I was saying, man, I wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd have just left it. No. If my rule is we get a candle to close back above the 5-minute opening range low, and then the next candle opens and confirms that, you take it off. And that's what I did. And as soon as I took it off, it started screaming back. So had this gone up and then we had another candle come back, I would have been able to get in on it. But since this came back on the same candle, I just kind of left it alone and just waited for the next opportunity to get in. And so once we got through this 94 level, I felt, hey, this was the best chance to get back in. I got in here once we made a new low on this rejection candle here. And it kind of traded sideways for a while, pushed back up, but we never lost 94. Never claimed 94. And it finally ended up working out. So patience pays. And trust in the technicals. Now, all of this is what pays off. And ended up getting a nice move here. And here's where I kind of made the mistake today. I put my profit stop a little too tight. My profit stop should have been right at the high of this candle here. But I put it at 92. And you can see what happened. It went up, stopped me out. And then it made the move I was looking for. This was my final target here, the daily 20. And I was just that close from getting there. That close. And this was just a kind of a mental error of putting my stop in below the last pop. That you just don't do. Because if you put it a little bit higher, that means the trend is probably breaking, especially if you make a higher high here. And then, a higher low here, and then you make a higher high. That's a sign that says the downtrend is probably reversing and you should be out anyway. But this was just an error in execution. And this is something that I could have fixed or that can easily be fixed. It's not something that I normally do. I normally put it back above this. But we do make some errors that cost me a little bit of profit here, but all is well. Still a green trade. Still made up for the stop out here. So net RCL. RCL was another one. This one actually hit my max loss. And, eventually it worked. But we got in, waited for it to lose the 200 and go red on the day. Waited for it to confirm red. And as soon as it did, it ripped me up. And you can see we came down. This wasn't a target yet. But this put in the low, which was going to be the low of the channel. This was the top of the channel. So there was going to be a trade. If we broke the low of the channel, it would be a trade if we broke the high. And you can see we kind of just messed around, and eventually you had a big washout. This thing really took off. Now the news came out that they're suspending the cruise lines even further. I don't remember the dates, but they're suspending the cruise lines for an even longer amount of time, which is really going to hurt these companies. I mean, now they're selling you like certificates and stuff like that, so that when they do open up, you can take a cruise and all that stuff. But I don't know if these guys are going to still be here. That's going to be the question. But they're trying to create their revenue flow by selling these gift certificates and stuff like that. But this would have been a really good trade to be in. There were a couple of you that had the patience and was still in this and just held through all of this, and you caught these nice moves, and that's a great job. That tells me you are learning and you're listening, and that's what this is all about. All you have, I know these are the easy days, the easy trades. The hardest thing to do is to do the same thing every day. To be patient, wait for your setups, allow them to work if they haven't hit your technical stop, and just let things happen. But too many things come in where we're scared if we don't get in early, we're going to miss out, and that causes us to lose money, and the list just goes on and on. But that would have been a really good trade. So I'm going to show you, oops, that was funny. So I'm going to show you the BA trade. Now, I took this in two different accounts. One was a more aggressive entry that I took early on. And one was, at least aggressive entry where I was a little bit more conservative and just kind of waited for the setups to come to me. All right, so here is the more conservative entry. I waited for this channel to break, and once it did, I mean, we were looking for it here, and we waited and waited and waited, and then we finally got it. I couldn't take it when I wanted to because this 186.48 level was sitting here. So once we got through that, I went ahead and bought it on the break of it. I didn't want to short into it, and we did have a little bounce here, but could not close back above this level and just started taking profit. And then once we made a higher high relative to this candle, I went ahead and took it off and waited to see if we can catch this again. And so we caught the continuation on this reversal, because we bounced, reverse trend. Here we pulled back, held this 186.48 level, held the 20 and the 9, and once we triggered, I was able to get in. We did have a little bit of a hiccup here, but it finally made it to the 50. And then after this, I was looking for the 90-day up here. That was the next one I was looking for. Let me move this out the way. So maybe you can see it now. So this is the final target I was looking for once we got through the 50. And it actually set up that way. It set up, we closed, and then this one made a new high, but it came back down. It kind of ran into this the top of the channel here that got put in on this initial bounce, and it just ran into that again, and then it came on back in. Could not get into this to take advantage of this channel, but all well and good. Had a really decent day outside of the RCL debacle this morning. Everything else was pretty good. Everything else worked out really good. So 283.04, not a bad way to end the week. This was just a lot more tougher week to trade. This was more like the summertime trading. It really felt like it all week. And you're always going to have stocks that make big moves. But the question is, are you going to be in that one stock at the right time? You don't have everything moving and you have your pick. There's just going to be a few, and then all of a sudden the market can be dead. All of a sudden you get news and the market comes in, and that's kind of the way, that's what you see on summertime trading. I mean, that's typically what you see during summertime trading. So now the trade I wanted to show you next, the more aggressive trade, this is the one that I got on the break of this low. You can see here's the initial pullback. We bounced. We rejected all of this moving average of 200, the 9, and we fell back through red to green. And we went red on the day. But I was not going to get in this until we were breaking down under the low here. And so you could say this actually put in a channel. Here's the top up here. I didn't draw a line here, but here's the top. Here's the bottom. Once we broke the channel, we were good to go. And so the more aggressive entry is not waiting for it to close below and then make a lower low. The more aggressive entry is waiting and anticipating the break to hold. I wasn't anticipating the break, so I didn't get up here, but I waited for the break to happen and then I got in. And you can see we did bounce and test the 9 again and eventually came back down and was able to start taking profit. And here we bounced and took me out. I went ahead and covered the rest. And then I waited for it to come back and kind of break, this rejection. This is a more aggressive entry on the rejection. I could have waited until this channel broke and got in here. But where people are getting in, I was taking profit. And so, and you can see this is where I got in. This is exactly where I got in for the first trade on the smaller account. You can see this is right here is where I got in, where I had to wait for that to confirm. I had to wait for this to break. So when I was taking profit on that account, on this account, I was getting in on the other one for a more conservative entry. So these are the two different schools of thought. Once you have gotten to the point where you're comfortable reading price action and you can kind of feel the weight of the stock, whether it's heavy, whether it's trading thin and you don't want to mess with it, or it's thick and you've got some, a lot of buyers sitting there, you'll be able to tell, you'll be able to feel it for the most part. Now, nothing is exact science. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. But you're going to be right more than you're wrong if you use the right technicals and you have gained that experience. So that's that. Nice trade. Ended up taking it off once we claimed the 20 here. Well, we didn't really claim it, but we were going to claim it. We claimed it over here. You could feel it. Again, it didn't reject here. We tried to. It never did test the 9 anymore. Never did really test this 186.48 level anymore, right then. So, that was done. So nice profit, on this. I tried to fill 500 shares the first trip, but it only filled 450. It left 50 hanging, and I just killed it. And the second time, This was my mistake. I didn't click it up enough to get 5, but I got 4. But it was, still had a really decent trade on this. But I wanted to show you guys the difference between the aggressive mentality and the conservative mentality, and that you can make money both ways, and that if you're at a point where you're just starting out, and this is why I don't do the aggressive stuff in chat, is because most of you, if you're going to do the aggressive, you don't need me to start with. But if you're just learning and you're trying to get your bearings, you want to be more conservative to where it'll help you stick to your rules and all of that. That's the key. So that's going to wrap it up. I hope you guys had a great week. I wish you a safe weekend. And if I don't talk to any of you, you don't hear from me before Sunday, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And just enjoy your weekend. All right, guys. See you later. Stay safe.